Revealed, 8 sinister deep woods horror stories from Appalachia that will haunt your nightmares. The dense trees loomed like crooked fingers reaching from the earth, casting long shadows that danced in the pale moonlight. Whispering Pines had always carried its secrets, but as autumn descended, the air chilled with an unsettling foreboding. Sarah, a single mother clinging to what little life remained after losing her factory job, felt it settle around her shoulders like a shroud. The woods whispered ominous tales, and children spoke in hushed tones of the Hollow Man, a ghastly figure that haunted the depths. Eyeless and smiling, Lucy, her precocious 8-year-old, filled the empty corners of their modest home with color and laughter. But the innocence of her drawings twisted into something darker. In crayon and charcoal, she illustrated a woodsman with hollow eyes, a smiling face that sent shivers crawling up Sarah's spine. It wasn't just the drawings. Lucy spoke of a friend in the woods, giggling in echoing harmony, as if inviting her mother to join in. Neighbors watched. They stood outside their rickety homes, faces taut with fear, casting glances toward the trees as if expecting something to emerge from the shadows. "Mr. Hargrove says we should stay cautious," one whispered, but her words were drowned out by the dwindling laughter of children. Sarah shook off the unease, too desperate for companionship to let paranoia unfurl. One night, a scream splintered the silence, a horrifying, spine-chilling cry that ripped through the air. Heart racing, Sarah dashed to Lucy's room, hands trembling wildly. She found her daughter clutching a drawing, a figure that bore too much resemblance to Mr. Hargrove, those hollow eyes, that sinister smile haunting her vision. The chill in the room wrapped around her like ice. She glanced out the window, where the trees seemed to coil closer as if they conspired against them. Outside, the night was thick and pulsating with secrets. Sarah could see silhouettes darting just beyond the edge of the porch light, shadows playing tricks on her mind. She spotted Edith, the old woman from next door, eyes wide with dread. "Keep Lucy inside after dark. You can't trust the Hollow Man," she hissed, gripping Sarah's arm with a frail but fierce strength. Panic swelled within Sarah's chest. Was Lucy's laughter mirth or a call to something more sinister? Her hands clammy, Sarah pushed the worry aside, convincing herself that it couldn't be true. But as the days wore on, Lucy became distant, drawn to the window like a moth to the flame. The woods whispered, their voice scraping against the nerves of Sarah's psyche. The townsfolk muttered amongst themselves, faces twisted in fear yet longing. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Then came the night when the air crackled with dread. The shadows outside multiplied. Sarah studied the figure of Mr. Hargrove through the dim light. His smile grew wider as he watched from the edge of the woods. Was it friendliness, or something more ghastly? The tension twisted in her gut. As darkness wrapped around their home, a deep unease settled within her. How do you protect your child from the very thing hidden among familiar faces, shadows in the light? With her heart racing, Sarah felt the weight of uncertainty crash upon her. What had once felt like safety now reeked of betrayal. The Hollow Man awaited, but who was really lurking behind the smiles of their neighbors? It was a restless night, the kind where sleep evaded Sarah like a phantom. She tossed and turned, the sound of Lucy's soft breathing breaking through the oppressive silence. But the whispers from outside seeped in, wrapping around her mind, refusing to let go. What if the Hollow Man really was out there, hiding just beyond the reach of the light? Tossing aside her fears, dawn broke with a veil of gray clouds hanging low, choking the sun. Sarah rose, her legs heavy with dread, but she needed to shake off the impending darkness that threatened to swallow her whole. She aimed for normalcy, rousing Lucy with a cheerful tone, though her heart raced every time she heard the familiar giggle that now seemed hollow. "Let us go to the market today," she said, holding on to the hope that some activity would distract Lucy. She donned a brave face, but even as they set out, her eyes flitted nervously towards the woods. Shadows seemed to stretch further, twisting and nodding, waiting. As they walked through the small town, the atmosphere felt thick, like the air before a storm. Neighbors averted their gazes, their faces shrouded in unspoken fear. Sarah passed Mrs. Calloway, who clutched a bundle of herbs, her eyes darting as if searching for someone. "Be careful, Sarah," she murmured, voice barely above a whisper. "The woods they've been restless." "What do you mean?" Sarah asked, anxiety curling in her stomach. The old woman shook her head, her gaze dropping to the ground, as if the earth carried the weight of the unspeakable. "Just don't go near them." The chilling words dug deep, and Sarah pushed onward, determined not to let the wood's malignant influence take hold. They reached the market, and Sarah tried to engage with other mothers, but their hushed conversations always sank back to the darkness lurking around whispering pines. "Did you hear? Another child went missing last week," one woman whispered, her voice quaking. "They say it's the Hollow Man. It's only a matter of time." Sarah's heart raced. Missing children? Dread pooled in her gut. Was she too late? What if Lucy was attracted to it all, the laughter, the giggles, the impossible allure the woods held over her? By afternoon, tension culminated with the wind. Sarah and Lucy returned home, the atmosphere weighed down by a deepening gloom. Lucy, seemingly unaware, ran ahead, her laughter tinkling with an unsettling echo. "Lucy, wait!" Sarah shouted, her voice barely breaking through the thickening air, dread flaring as her daughter raced toward the edge of the trees. "Mom! Look!" Lucy exclaimed, her face alight with a manic glee. She pointed at a set of peculiar footprints trailing away into the thick underbrush, small yet eerily elongated. "Stay back!" Sarah yelled, panic forcing her feet forward, but Lucy was already captivated, stepping closer, her eyes wide with incomprehensible wonder. The whispers grew louder, brushing past Sarah's ears like cold fingers. "Join us," they seemed to beckon, chilling her to the bone. "Lucy! Come back!" But it was too late. The girl slipped into the embrace of the trees, leaving her mother behind, paralyzed between fear and an instinctive urge to chase. What could she possibly protect her child from? The Hollow Man? Or worse, what secrets lay buried beneath the cacophony of leaves? The shadows loomed, casting a perilous cover over the path Lucy had taken. One heartbeat stretched into eternity, and then Sarah dashed forward, each step emboldened by terror, knowing she had to reach her daughter before the woods claimed another soul. But the further she went, the more the trees twisted around her, and just as she thought she might catch up, a maniacal laughter echoed deep within. Lucy's voice melded with it, sweet yet sinister, inviting her to enter. And there, a fleeting glimpse, a shadow, a figure with hollow eyes grinning back at her, standing just behind Lucy. In that moment, Sarah faced the truth she feared most. Was Lucy already lost to the Hollow Man? The question hung heavily, a cloying dread wrapping around her throat. She pushed forward, ready to confront whatever terror awaited. But as Sarah stepped deeper into the woods, the final echo resounded behind her, "You can't protect her forever." Suddenly, the laughter stopped. Silence took hold, heavier and more terrifying than the shadows surrounding her. What awaited her in the heart of those trees? Would it reveal the truth, or would shadows consume them both? The air grew dense, every breath a chore as Sarah plunged into the woods, each step crunching against twigs and fallen leaves. Panic clawed at her chest like a feral beast desperate to escape its cage. "Lucy!" she cried out, voice breaking, swallowed by the oppressive silence that blanketed the forest. Shadows danced among the trees, their tendrils reaching out, threatening her sanity. The laughter had vanished, replaced by a suffocating hush that pressed against her eardrums. She stumbled over roots, her heart racing as she fought the rising tide of dread. Just moments ago, her daughter laughed, full of joy. Now that thrill had turned to ice, chilling her veins. Was that really her Lucy, or had the woods twisted her beloved child, warped beyond recognition? Lucy! She screamed again, but the words seemed to fade into the crowd of undulating brambles. Suddenly, a flicker of movement caught her eye, something darting between the trees, pale and fast. Lucy! Sarah dashed toward the fleeting shape, hope igniting only to fester with anxiety when the path narrowed, pulling her deeper. It felt like the forest was alive, twisting and folding around her, trying to ensnare her every move. Then she heard it, a soft whisper, almost melodic, entwined with the rustling leaves. "Stay, you'll find what you're looking for, join us." The words were sweet, sugar-coated with malice, and every instinct screamed at her to run, yet her feet felt rooted to the spot. With dread lodged firmly in her throat, Sarah pushed through the underbrush, and suddenly she was in a clearing. It was too bright, too stark against the dim forest. But every beam of sunlight felt tainted, bathed in a sickly glow. In the center, an altar made of crooked branches and adorned with assorted trinkets sat ominously. Broken toys, faded photographs, remnants of lives once vibrant, now silent. Each object whispered stories, screams of children swallowed whole by the woods. Her heart pounded louder. Was this what had become of Lucy's laughter? Was this place where magic turned sinister? "Mommy! Help me!" The voice was Lucy's. "Please, dear God, let it be real." It echoed through the trees, both near and far. But the moment froze in her chest. A figure loomed nearby, half hidden by shadows. It was a child, but not quite. Ripped clothes hung loosely, the face obscured, eyes hollow pools reflecting a haunting familiarity. "Come closer," it cooed, the tone warbling with dark delight. "No." Sarah stepped back, horrified realization creeping like a spider down her spine. Was this a trap? Was this Lucy? Or another victim, lured to this nightmarish charm? With the chilling shadows closing in, emotions swirled: fear, desperation, determination burning hotter than before. "Lucy!" she screamed, voice echoing against the trees. The silence was unbearable. Then the figure stepped forward, and Sarah's heart dropped. It was an echo of her daughter, but the features were twisted and wrong, an unrecognizable version smoothed by the forest's sickening touch. "Play with us forever," it beckoned, reaching out with bony fingers, and then, from the deepest part of her soul, Sarah felt an urge, inexplicable, almost seductive. The whispers wrapped around her, warm like a lover's embrace, the darkness tugging at her thoughts. She shook her head to clear it, pulse racing. "Lucy! Where are you?" A rustle came from the bushes, and Sarah turned, breath hitching, praying for sight of her real daughter. But instead, a figure emerged, slowly, deliberately. It was tall and wretched, its hollow eyes void of life, the very embodiment of fear. The hollow man, with a grin that soured the air. A surge of horror coursed through her veins. Was this all a cruel illusion? Would she remain trapped in this madness forever? The shadows grew tighter, circling like a noose, and a single thought echoed in her mind: would she lose herself to the darkness before finding Lucy? "Join your heart to the woods," the grotesque figure rasped, eyes glimmering with twisted joy. In that moment, Sarah knew she faced a choice, a heart-stopping dilemma of survival. Embrace the darkness or fight to save her child. But as the air filled with another round of laughter, both sweet and sinister, uncertainty clawed at her resolve. What awaited her in this forsaken place? Would she find Lucy's laughter once more, or would the woods carve away her very soul? The next heartbeat pounded like a war drum, and in the corner of her eye, a flicker of white, a reminder of hope or despair. "Tick-tock, Sarah," the hollow man taunted, eyes narrowing, "time to make a choice." Air crackled with tension, as if the trees themselves were holding their breath. Time felt lost in the clearing, every second dragging painfully. Sarah's heart thundered, drowning out the whispers that twisted around her. Shadows shivered, closing in, yet a single flicker of white danced on the edge of her vision, the hope that Lucy was near. Tick-tock, echoed the hollow man, his grin widening, revealing teeth like broken shards. Nerves fraying, Sarah forced herself to confront the impending darkness. The air thickened, carrying the scent of damp earth and decay. Every instinct screamed for her to flee, but the sight of a small, faded doll on the altar anchored her. It was Lucy's favorite, lost long before they ventured into these woods. "Please," she begged, desperation squeezing her throat, "help me find my daughter." The hollow man leaned forward, his hollow gaze piercing through the shadows. "Are you willing to give up everything?" he whispered, voice like gravel, each word soaked with malice. "What do you mean?" She felt her heart plunge, panic gripping her. "Join us," the creature crooned, gesturing to the altar, "she could be here forever." With renewed terror, Sarah glanced around the clearing, searching desperately for any sign of her real Lucy. Her memory flashed, the feel of her daughter's warm hand, the pitter-patter of her laughter. The shadows swirled, their whispers wrapping tighter. "Make the sacrifice never," Sarah shouted defiantly. But doubt gnawed at her mind, as flickers of ghostly children danced past her, their eyes void and haunting. Each spoke her name, their voices overlapping in a sinister melody. Join us," struggling against the rising tide, she clutched her head, trying to shut out the nonsense. "I'm not like you," she screamed, desperation trailing her voice. She needed to think focus. Though she couldn't see Lucy, she felt her essence lurking somewhere close, hidden beneath the choking shadows. The hollow man's laughter pierced through the air, gliding smoothly like ice. "You already are, just look around." Hesitant, Sarah turned to the altar again. Beneath each broken toy and crumbling photograph, vague shapes flickered in the corners of her mind. Memories of her own childhood peeled back layers of reality, revealing moments twisted by grief and dreams abandoned. "Lucy!" she called again, voice trembling, echoing into the thick stillness. "I'm here." "Where are you?" Her voice bounced off tree trunks, drawing closer to something beyond the rain-soaked darkness. A flicker near the tree line caught her eye. "Mommy?" A faint voice laced with fear teased the edges of the shadow. Just as hope surged, the hollow man stepped into her path, blocking her view. Sarah's heart raced as she pushed against the darkness, fighting to navigate through twisted limbs. The woods roared in protest, the ground shifting beneath her feet as if they were alive. "Join your heart to the woods," the creature rasped, looming closer, its presence suffocating. "Lose yourself, and find her." "No!" she screamed, backing away from the sinister figure as her thoughts screamed for clarity. But as shadows swirled, a memory flickered Lucy's laughter, a radiant beacon amid the darkness. "Mommy!" It rang clear, closer now, a call of innocence that shattered the darkness surrounding her. Time slowed, Sarah's heart thudding with fierce determination. She surged toward the edge of the clearing, toward the voice. Each step broke the spell, and the hollow man's grotesque cackle echoed behind her. "Choose wisely, Sarah." The woods never forget. Just as she reached the edge, a strong gust of wind howled through the trees, threatening to knock her off balance. She stumbled, gasping for breath, as the force whipped around her, pulling her closer to what? Haunting whispers clawed at her sanity. Would she be lost forever? Or would she unravel secrets buried by shadows? And then she saw it was Lucy. The figure flickering in the distance gleamed through the trees, beckoning, urging her forward. Was this the path to salvation or another trap laid by the darkness? "Help me, Mommy." The familiar plea ignited a fire within her. Could she reach her before it was too late? The shadows closed in, preparing to feast on her every hope as she lunged forward, mind racing, what awaited her just beyond the veil of despair. The ground beneath Sarah trembled, as if it were waking from a dark slumber. She took a breath, but the air felt heavy, thick with a rancid smell that clawed at her throat. Shadows twisted around her, cold fingers grazing her skin, whispering secrets only the damned could understand. "Choose, join us." The taste of dread filled her mouth. "Lucy!" She pushed her voice past the wave of terror, her feet moving instinctively toward the silhouette glimmering through the underbrush. Closer she got, heart soaring in her chest, but with each step, the forest groaned, lamenting her presence. Branches whipped against her face, as if trying to pull her back. The hollow man's laughter echoed through the trees, low and piercing, ready to drown her hope in despair. "You can't escape, Sarah. The woods always keep what is theirs." Sarah's resolve hardened. "I want to listen to you." The words rang out, startling the shadows into silence. Pushing through the thick trunks, she slipped farther into the unknown. The figure flickered, growing clearer with each heartbeat, and in that moment, Sarah realized it wasn't just an illusion. It was Lucy. She wore the same familiar dress, but something was off. Her edges blurred, a ghostly shimmer against the blackness. "Mommy." The child's voice was a lifeline that cut through the oppressive air. "Lucy." Sarah stumbled forward, the magnetic pull stronger than before. But the clearing around her reeked of a hollow promise. The trees seemed to lean in closer, branches curving like hands ready to grasp. "Mommy, help me." The plea echoed, now laced with an undercurrent of urgency that sent a chill rippling down Sarah's spine. The child's eyes were wide with fear, reflecting something deeper hidden in their depths. "What's wrong? What's happening?" Panic clawed at her throat as she rushed towards Lucy, the urge to protect flooding her senses. As she extended her hand, a cold wind swept past, carrying a foreboding whisper. "Not every child is meant to return." The shadows writhed as if alive, pulling at her limbs, testing her resolve. She could feel their breath, a chilling rush, like icy tendrils wrapping around her throat. "Don't." Lucy's tiny hands reached out, but they flickered, becoming wisps of smoke. "It's a trap." "Mommy, listen." Suddenly, the ground beneath Sarah's feet gave way. She felt weightless, caught in an unseen grip. Clarity morphed into chaos as distorted faces emerged from the darkness, children with tears carved into their cheeks, gaping mouths whispering the same dread-filled words. "Join us." Just as Sarah teetered on the edge of oblivion, a surge of warmth rushed through her, pulling her back. "Lucy. I am coming for you." She screamed into the abyss, trying to drown out the shadows. The ground shifted again, sending her tumbling into a chaotic dream world. She landed in a new, murky clearing surrounded by thick fog. Strange silhouettes moved just out of sight, their laughter echoing with a sinister undertone. Somewhere deep within, she knew she wasn't alone. Help! The faint voice was softer now, and as she listened hard, it morphed into a cacophony of cries mingling with her own heartbeat. The trees swayed ominously, and something glistened in the fog like a hidden truth. She knelt to the ground, fighting against despair, clawing at the grass. What was this place? The air pulsed around her, laden with both promise and threat. As she grasped at the strands of hope, realization struck. The hollow man was playing a game, and she was merely a piece on his board, every decision a gamble against her fate. The fog swirled, forming a wall before her, alive, breathing. "You remain in our grasp forever." The hushed voices faded into a haunting whisper, teasing her sanity. Sarah closed her eyes, her heart racing. If she found the truth, could she save Lucy? Or was this a descent into madness where the woods swallowed the light of hope? The darkness loomed nearer, and a chilling laugh echoed again, the game far from over. How many mothers had lost their children to this nightmare? Every shadow danced, and the unseen continued to play. Their deadly hand, each move more sinister than the last. And with that, the fog thickened as if preparing to erase her presence from existence. Would she uncover the secret that bound her daughter to the darkness, or remain lost among the whispers forever? "Mommy." The voice rang out once again, but what it meant hung precariously in the air. What awaited her next could shatter every ounce of courage she had left. The fog thickened, swirling like a living entity around Sarah's trembling legs. She could hardly breathe, the stench of decay mixing with the damp earth. A raw chill crawled up her spine, each vague whisper weaving through her mind. weaving tales of despair and hopelessness. The forest had teeth, and it was hungry. "Lucy!" she shouted, but the persistent fog swallowed her voice. She felt the shadows shift, closing in, as if mocking her effort. Panic surged anew. Every fiber of her being cried out for her daughter. She focused on Lucy's face, etched in memory, eyes bright and hopeful. But now they were lost somewhere within the nightmare. "Mommy," the voice drifted again, promising yet threatening, echoing the depth of the fog. Each word scraped against Sarah's heart, squeezing, tightening. What had once been a lifeline now felt like a noose, her resolve ignited. She had to find Lucy, had to bring her home. She stumbled forward, steeling herself against the shadows that reached for her. "You want me to join you?" she yelled, fists clenched. "I'll never give in." Yet, doubt gnawed at her. She had felt the warmth of the whispers, the promise of safety, the endless comfort of the unseen. What if giving up was the only way out? But that thought twisted her insides, and she pressed on, dread intertwining with fierce determination. The ground shifted beneath her, sending her sliding down into a darker part of the forest. She landed hard, the impact jolting her. As she regained her footing, she was enveloped by an even thicker darkness, the air electric with tension. Something was watching her, lurking just out of reach. "Lucy! I'm coming!" she shouted again, more fierce this time. The trees responded with low creaks, a deep resonance that echoed her fears. Shadows elongated like fingers, stretching toward her, forming grotesque silhouettes against the dim light. Suddenly, the laughter of children filled the air, but it was twisted, cruel and haunting. The sounds bounced off the walls of the encroaching darkness, mixing with memories of laughter once shared with Lucy, taunting her. "Join us," it echoed, a chorus of lost souls intertwining with her cries, a melody of anguish. The fear wrapped around her heart like barbed wire, slicing deeper with every moment she lingered. Ahead, a flicker caught her eye. A vision of Lucy's familiar dress peeking through the woods. Hope surged in Sarah's chest. "Lucy!" She ran, the ground clawing beneath her feet, urging her back. The clearing opened up around her, revealing a twisted version of a playground. Swings creaked, rusted chains whispering in the wind, while a carousel spun slowly, its colors faded and dull. "Mommy, help!" The voice trembled with urgency, echoing louder than it had before. "Where are you?" Panic drove her deeper into the playground, shadows darting around, keeping just out of reach. Her heart raced, each beat a fragile promise that she would find her daughter. Suddenly, she stopped. In the center of the emo playground, a massive oak tree loomed, its roots gnarled and pronounced. Wrapped around it was a figure, wearing the same dress as Lucy. But it wasn't Lucy, it was her silhouette, an echo of the child she loved, trapped in the bark, limbs intertwining with twisted roots. "Lucy!" Sarah's voice cracked, tears flooding her eyes. "No!" The hollow voice responded, chilling her to the core. "You cannot save her. It's too late." The trees shuddered, shaking with a life of their own, as the laughter vibrated around her, drowning her pulse. Join us," the weight of despair threatened to drag her under, the very branches reaching to pull her down into the earth. She felt the truth wrapped around the figures, every child lost, every mother's scream silenced. With shaking breath, she forced herself to stand tall, clenching her fists. "You will not take her." But in that moment, the shadows lunged, their cold grasp wrapping around her throat, squeezing like a vice. Join us. What was happening? Would Sarah have to balance on the edge of sacrifice to save her child, or would she be the next in the shadows? Grasp? The fog swirled, thickening around her, each heartbeat echoing in danger. Secrets waited just before her. The hollow man had more to reveal, and the stakes now felt deadly. Could she face the truth buried in the fog, or would these cursed woods claim both her and her daughter forever? The shadows tightened their grip, cold and suffocating. The laughter grew louder, an eerie symphony perched on the edge of madness. Sarah fought against the encroaching darkness, her heart pounding, adrenaline coursing through her veins. She focused all her strength on the figure entwined in the tree's roots. "Let her go!" she screamed, her voice a desperate plea that bounced off the twisted play structures. Despite the fear clinging to her like a second skin, she stepped closer, determination colliding with dread. The hollow figure flickered, a moment of clarity breaking through the fog. For an instant, Sarah could see Lucy's expression, a mix of fright and sorrow, her tiny face older than it should be. "Mommy, help!" The voice wavered, filled with an innocence that cut deep, but then the laughter swelled again, drowning Lucy's plea. "Join us!" the chorus mocked her, wrapping her in promises of comfort mixed with impending doom. The shadows danced, taunting her. She glanced around, frantic, looking for anything she could use. Her eyes landed on a rusty swing set, its chains desperately clinging to a semblance of normalcy. Without thinking, she dashed toward it, praying for a weapon or some way to sever the connection holding her daughter captive. As she reached the swing, a gust of wind ripped through the playground, swirling leaves around her like frenzied spirits. Unlocked memories flooded her mind: playdays in the sun, children running free, laughter untainted by fear. Each memory anchored her, grounding her in the belief that love could pierce the darkness. "Lucy!" she cried, voice thick with resolve. As she gripped the chains, they vibrated with a low hum, almost like a heartbeat, one that pulsed with anger against the looming night. It dawned on her, the playground wasn't a graveyard of memories, it was a battleground. Fingers shaking, she reached into the creaking wood of the swing, half expecting the shadows to drag her in. Instead, her hand closed around something cold, a small, worn-out music box, the paint chipped and faded. Sarah's breath hitched. It was Lucy's favorite. "Mommy, hurry!" The urgency in Lucy's voice sliced through the cacophony, spurring Sarah into action. With all her might, Sarah twisted the box open, and haunting, delicate music filled the air. The shadows shrieked and recoiled, their laughter fading. Light spilled from the box, illuminating the playground momentarily and pushing back the darkness. "Lucy!" she cried, hope igniting in her chest. As she stepped toward the tree again, the figure writhed violently against the bark. "Hold on. I'm coming." The ground trembled beneath her feet as roots crumbled, the harsh reality of the magical darkness fading momentarily in the music's glow. But doubt crept in again, whispering like the fog. What if she pushed too far? What if this was all a trap? Then she felt it, a surge of energy coursing through her veins. The music deepened, resonating with her heartbeat. In that moment, she realized that music was the tether. It represented love, hope, and the desperate will to save her child, but the shadows weren't finished. They screamed, angry and relentless, rushing back to her in a tidal wave of darkness, echoing their ghastly song. They reached for her, intending to snatch her away, to pull her into their abyss. "Join us," the whispers hissed, insistent and fervent. With her daughter's frightened face before her, she screamed, "No. I'm not yours to take." She pushed the music box further into the light, letting the haunting melody flood the playground. The darkness convulsed, shadows writhing as the music clashed against their power. With each note, she felt a piece of the wood's sinister magic break, the air trembling with each bound of melody. But then, just as quickly, the ground beneath her groaned, and the tree began to shake violently. She felt the roots yank violently, as if trying to reclaim the figure wrapped within. The playground quaked, reality shattering all around her. "Sarah!" the hollow voice came again, softer, but layered with menace. "You can't win." Desperation clawed at her. Would this music be enough? Would it be powerful enough to break this malignant grasp over her daughter? As branches snapped and the fog swirled, she could almost see the thin line of the truth. The hollow man was watching, waiting for her next move, the real horror lurking beyond. The choice lay heavy before her, to forge ahead with love or to abandon it all and risk losing Lucy forever. "Mommy. Please." And then, silence fell, broken only by the tune that lingered. The footsteps of the shadows hesitated. The hollow man's laughter pulsed through the air like poison. One decision would seal their fate: what was the price of a mother's love, and what secret was the hollow man waiting to reveal? The battle was just beginning. The shadows shifted like a living thing, wrapping around Sarah as she clutched the music box tighter, its notes swirling in the air. Each note ignited defiance in her heart, but doubt still gnawed at her insides. The sight of Lucy, desperately contorted in the tree's grasp, was a reminder of her own fragility. "What have I done?" she thought. A deep rumble echoed through the ground, vibrating her bones. The shadows surged again, their form coiling and twisting, a horrifying mockery of what they once were. The laughter grew wild, increasing in tempo, matching the frantic beat of her heart. "Join us," they chanted, a sinister melody that wrapped around her like barbed wire. "Get away from her!" Sarah yelled, channeling every ounce of her strength. Her voice was met with howls of derision from the dark. The music box began to shake in her hands, the haunting tune faltering as the shadows clamored closer. She needed to amplify the sound. She needed it to fight back harder. Without realizing, she began to sway, her body instinctively following the rhythm of the music. The playground came alive, shadows dancing in tandem with her movements. A wave of warmth flooded her as she stepped closer to the figure she could barely see, the chains she grasped like a lifeline. "Lucy!" The scream tore from her throat, breaking the illusion of safety around her. "Hold on. I will get you out of this." The figure twitched in response, the vacant eyes flickering with some recognition, but they were trapped, firmly bound. "Mommy!" Lucy's voice was shrill now, stark against the cacophony of the shadows. A crack of energy surged through Sarah's grip, a vibrant light escaping the box as she poured herself into the melody. The shadows recoiled, yelping in unison, their laughter now tinged with a palpable fear. But the hollow man, she could almost sense his presence lurking beyond the veil of shadows. She seized the moment, feeding her energy and love into the music, letting it pulse outwards, willing it to shatter the darkness. The sounds resonated. Darkness surged in retaliation. A wall of blackness rose up, rising like a tidal wave. She gasped as fear became a tangible force, choking her, filling her lungs with its toxic breath. "No, not like this." The music grew louder, each note a cry against the suffocation surrounding her. A glimmer of hope shone through. Would love prevail? But doubt continued to whisper like a coiled serpent. "You're losing her," it hissed, curling around her thoughts. "You can't save her." With a howl, the shadows sought to reclaim their prize, claws made of nothingness tensed and ready to drag her down. She couldn't let that happen. With every ounce of desperation in her being, she howled back a primal scream that drowned everything out. The ground shook violently, and Sarah staggered back, eyes wide with panic. She could see the darkness begin to morph, shifting from omnivorous shadows into more defined figures, lost children caught in sweet sorrow. They looked like Lucy, their faces twisted in despair. "Join us!" They shrieked again, their voices blending with the grotesque laughter echoing around her, now almost a fuel for darkness. "No!" She screamed defiantly, the music box now emitting a piercing shriek of its own, a cacophony that reverberated within the hollow tree. "You have no power here. Get away from my daughter." For a heartbeat, the shadows hesitated, as if the very sinews of their existence were threatened. Then, just as quickly as it began, the music died down, leaving an unsettling silence that sank deep into her bones. The world around her jittered. Past and present blurred. A vision unfurled, a glimpse of herself, cradling Lucy in the sunshine, laughter bursting forth. Would this memory be enough to break through? The ground beneath her quaked once more, and leaves swirled like icy tendrils around her feet. The laughter resumed, louder, more chaotic, as if mocking her efforts. The hollow man's presence loomed, dark and powerful. But this time, Sarah felt a fire igniting in her chest. "It's not over!" she shouted, and with that, the music box flickered back to life, pulsing brighter than before. The shadows screamed in agony. "Mommy! Help!" Lucy's voice echoed sweetly through the chaos, a calling she could no longer ignore. The battle raged within her heart as shadows and memories collided. What other secrets lay entwined in the darkness? What more would the Hollow Man reveal if she dared to push forward? In this moment of truth, Sarah's resolve hardened. The true horror of the night was yet to come. The shadows howled, a tempest of desperation and rage swirling around Sarah. She could feel their cold tendrils creeping closer, a shiver racing down her spine. "I'll find you, Lucy. I promise," she murmured, steeling herself against the encroaching darkness. With every breath, she conjured her daughter's laughter, that sweet melody which had once filled their home with warmth, now seemed like a distant echo desperately calling her back. The music box trembled violently, notes spilling chaotically into the air. Each one was a weapon, a promise of protection. But the shadows surged, blurring the line between reality and nightmare. Sarah dared not look away from Lucy's figure, still encased in the gnarled branches, struggling against the suffocating grip of despair. Every second felt like eternity, each tick of her heart waited with urgency. Come on," she whispered, gripping the music box with white-knuckled intensity. The familiar notes emerged once more, threading their way through the din, creating a fragile barrier against the chaos. Slowly, the shadows recoiled like frightened animals, their forms shifting under the bright light. But just as hope ignited within her chest, there was a shift in the air, a heavy, palpable dread that sank deep into her bones. The dark ripped itself apart in jagged lines, revealing the Hollow Man standing at its center. His twisted figure loomed larger, eyes two hollow voids that seemed to consume all light. "A futile effort, dear Sarah," he crooned, his voice dripping with malice. "You're only prolonging the inevitable." With a wave of his hand, the shadows converged, and Sarah felt a sudden heat radiate from the music box, the electric energy tingling through her fingers. "No! You won't take her!" Sarah shouted, her voice breaking through the encroaching shadows like a beacon. "You don't own her." The music grew louder as she poured her emotions into it. A violent pulse of light radiated with each note, battling against the suffocating darkness. The laughter of the shadows warped, turning into something like a wailing lament as they began to dissolve into the air, but the Hollow Man advanced, unrelenting. "I am the keeper of their anguish. You think your love can break these bonds? You are mistaken." His laughter sliced through her resolve, echoing around her like shards of glass. With a deep breath, Sarah tightened her grip on the box and shouted the words that swelled within her, words she hoped would reach Lucy, words as fierce as the love she felt. "Lucy! I am coming. Keep fighting." A flicker of light surged against the darkness, the music pulsing effortlessly. The shadows shrank back, writhing as if in pain, but the Hollow Man stepped forward, his expression twisted in anger. With a sharp motion of his hand, he unfurled clouds of darkness that surged toward Sarah like a pack of hungry wolves. She stumbled back, panic clawing at her mind. The cacophony of whispers grew louder, voices rising to a fever pitch, echoing her fears, "Join us, join them, not today." Sarah roared, spinning the music box in the air, unleashing its beauty in a fearless act. The sound surged like a wave. The shadows hissed and writhed, the anguished faces of lost children rising and falling, pleading with half-formed whispers. But Sarah felt it, the call of her daughter. With renewed strength she moved towards the tree, ignoring the pull of shadows wrapping tightly around her ankles. Each step felt like walking through molasses as the darkness pulled at her. But Lucy's face shimmered like an apparition, faint yet vibrant. "Mommy!" she cried, her hand stretching out toward Sarah. "No! I won't let you have her!" Sarah shouted defiantly, tearing through the shadows, heart pounding as the music grew into a wild crescendo of phantom sounds, summoning light with each note. Then everything halted, the music, the laughter, the howling wind. An unbearable silence hung heavy in the air, and Sarah's heart raced in the stillness. Lucy's figure was finally illuminated by the overwhelming light streaming from the music box. But could she reach her before the darkness consumed them both? As Sarah reached forward, desperate hope battled with fear, solidifying into one crucial moment. Did she have enough strength left to break the chains binding Lucy? Would love triumph after all? The shadows trembled, shifting ominously as if sensing the climax of the confrontation. You think this is over? The hollow man sneered, eyes flickering with dark promise. This is just the beginning, and with that, the air crackled, tension thick as the next revelation hung just above the horizon. What other horrors lingered in the depths of the woods? What more would they both have to face? The shadows trembled, swirling like a dark tempest around Sarah, the air thick with an electric charge. Time seemed to stretch and contract as she gasped for breath, a battle raging between light and dark. The vibrant sound of the music box pulsed within her, a rallying cry in the face of the encroaching darkness. Lucy! She cried, determination filling her voice. The figure in the distance flickered, a glimmer of hope pulsing with the rhythm of the melody. Keep fighting. I'm coming for you. The darkness snarled like a beast, lunging toward her, fingers of despair reaching out to snatch her back. The moment hung heavy, the air thick with malice. You cannot save her, Sarah. The hollow man hissed, his hollow eyes swirling with shadowy despair. Yes, I can. Sarah shouted defiantly, gripping the music box tighter. I want to let your darkness win. With a swift turn, she started to move toward Lucy, her heart pounding like a war drum. The shadows shifted, buffeting against her, but she pressed on, fueled by the sheer force of her love. Each step resonated with the music, and the shadows hissed, writhing against the flood of light. Mommy, help me. Lucy's voice echoed again, the plea sharp as shattered glass, breaking through Sarah's resolve and anchoring her further to her daughter. Just hold on. She shouted, her feet pounding against the ground, closing the distance between them. The oppressive fog that had enshrouded her thinned, revealing Lucy's outline, a beacon against the creeping night. Sarah! The laughter of the shadows mingled with Lucy's cries, a cacophony of lost souls, begging her to give in. Join us forever no. The word burst from Sarah's lips like fire. She hurled the music box before her, its haunting melody soaring and washing over the playground like a cleansing wave. Light swirled, a whirlwind of warmth that chased the shadows into the farthest corners of the clearing. With each note played, she felt the tendrils of despair loosening from Lucy, the charred remnants of the hollow man's grip dissolving like smoke, but the hollow man retaliated, his laughter echoing darkly as he reached out, shadows coiling around Sarah like a vice. You are too late. Your daughter belongs to the woods. His voice dripped with cruelty, filled with a bitterness that made the air thicken. No! Sarah screamed, voice cracking but fierce. She belongs to me. We are connected forever. In that moment, she poured every ounce of her love, every treasured memory of joy and laughter into the music box, letting it transform into a beacon of light. The shadows howled and shrieked, thrashing against the barrier. Sarah summoned the light, feeling its warmth pulse through her fingers, the scene around her rippled, illuminating the hearts of lost children trapped in the dark. Faces of longing and despair turned toward her, their cries mingling in a twisted harmony. Then, amidst the discord, Lucy's face shone through the fog, a radiant smile, shadowed yet bursting with life. Mommy! Help! The faint echo of her daughter's voice knotted Sarah's heart. I see you. Sarah cried, channeling her energy, pushing against the darkness. I'm here. Just reach out to me. As they locked eyes, the music swelled in pitch, creating a barrier that clashed against the relentless shadows. The darkness shrieked, writhing violently as the light surged forward in a wave, breaking through the despair like a dawn breaking over a long, dark valley. A brilliant explosion of light erupted from the music box, engulfing them both. The hollow man howled in anguish, his figure dissolving into shadows, the sound like a storm breaking apart in the sky. "You cannot defeat the woods forever," he screeched, but Sarah knew the truth. She had found the love that shattered the darkness. As the light wrapped around her, Sarah felt her lungs fill with air. She grasped Lucy's hand, pulling her free from the gnarled roots that had held her captive. "Mommy!" Lucy cried, tears shimmering with joy. The bond between them reignited with fierce passion, burning away the shadows that had tried to tear them. Apart, together they fled, the music ringing in the air, spilling light into the dark corners of the woods. The laughter of children faded, the cries of the trapped whispers settling into silence. They raced past the dying remnants of the shadowy figures, shadows fleeing as the light took root. As they burst from the trees, daylight spilling across their faces, Sarah cradled Lucy, joy flooding her heart. They didn't look back, the woods collapsing behind them, consumed by their own darkness. "Mommy, we did it!" Lucy exclaimed, laughing melodiously, the echo finally crisp and pure. "Yes, we did, baby. We fought the darkness together," Sarah whispered, her heart soaring with gratitude. The woods would always carry their secrets, but the bond they shared ignited a flame that darkness could never extinguish, and as they walked home, hand in hand, the lighter shadows of the forest seemed to whisper apologies, fading away like the nightmares they had defeated. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. Instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.